baseball fans. You're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you for joining me here as we honor the life of Bobby Cox, who passed away today at the age of 84. Cox will be remembered mostly for what he did, of course, in a Braves uniform, the 1995 World Series title, the fourth most wins in Major League Baseball history, and, of course, all of those ejections. He certainly left his mark as the leader of the clubhouse here in Atlanta. But what he did behind the scenes is not talked about enough. Many young Braves fans may not realize that Cox was also the general manager at one point in time for the Braves. He systematically changed the way the Braves were built. Instead of focusing on offense, he focused on having premier pitching, which was a bit controversial at the time, considering that the Braves played at the launching pad known as Fulton County Stadium. Cox would, of course, prove the doubters wrong, beginning a 14-year division winning streak in 1991 that would last all the way to 2005. This is the longest streak of division titles that any team has ever put together, and it's doubtful that it will ever happen again. But that dominance was built on pitching. Cox's highlights as general manager include drafting the likes of future Hall of Famers Tom Glavine as well as Chipper Jones, not to mention those that had a critical impact in the 90s. Steve Avery, Dave Justice, Ron Gant, Ryan Klesko, Mark Lemke, and many others. Cox's intuition also helped the Braves acquire another future Hall of Famer when the Braves traded Doyle Alexander to the Tigers for future Hall of Famer John Smoltz. Cox would eventually move back to the dugout where he could have more of a hands-on approach with the team, but his leadership would continue even in that new place. Leo Mazzoni, former Braves pitching coach who sat next to Bobby rocking for most of his career, remembers a meeting where Bobby made the final choice of a big-time signing, Barry Bonds or Greg Maddux.
And so it was split down the middle 50-50, but Bobby Cox said he was the last one. He says, he said, with the great rotation that we already have, he said, if we add Greg Maddux into that rotation, he says, we'll never have a losing streak.
He was right.
Yeah, and so anyway, we signed Maddux, and I think the greatest free agent sign in the history of the game, to be honest with you.
And there's so many stories just like that about Bobby, where he either made a decision in a backroom meeting that would ultimately pay off with a World Series title, or it would be more of a direct approach on the field, taking up for his players and having their backs.
I've asked you about this story before. There's an ejection of yours that's kind of notable.
Well, good pitch. Close. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Oh, man, Johnny Estrada just got thrown out of the game. I don't know who he threw out there. I guess Bobby Cox.
Yeah.
I could have talked about that.
Bobby had your back there.
Yes.
If you could give me just maybe leave out the words used, but just the synopsis of that story.
You believe that guy was in the World Series this year?
Apparently he was.
Who picks that staff?
What's his name?
Doug Eddings.
That's it, Doug Eddings. That's right.
Brutal. Yeah, so I get tossed in the first inning. Yeah, I think it was the third batter of the game.
That's never good for a catcher, ever.
And Paul LaDuca, another catcher, was in the box. But, I thought we punched him out. Didn't move my glove. So I took a couple steps to the dugout, and he balled it. So I threw the ball back. And it was like a young kid we had that just called up Cologne or something. And so I throw the ball back, and I kind of play it off. Apologize. Sorry, man. So I get back down in my stance. And he wouldn't let it go. Said, you thought that pitch was a strike? I said, yeah. And we're taught to talk, but not show up the umpire. So I'm talking, and you can kind of see my mask moving. And, and he said a couple cuss words too loud in my ear, and I just blew up. Don Sutton said it was the loudest F-bomb he ever heard on TV, live TV. So I lost it, man. And so I get tossed Right away, Bobby comes running out. What the hell is going on? I said, he's cussing in my ear. And then Bobby's like, can you start,
He's right in his face.
Yeah,
right in his face.
So he's gone. And so we both get our money's worth and we leave. And it was fun. Mike Hampton was on the DL in the dugout. And he got tossed. So, oh man, I remember the video. So you see like the three of us walking out of the dugout.
What was it like in the clubhouse after that?
Ah man, I didn't want to go in there. So he went to his office, fired up a cigar, and I go to the clubhouse, empty clubhouse. Hampton, like, I don't know what Hampton was doing. I think he went to the training room or something. So I'm just sitting in front of my locker, scared, mad. It's the first inning, like, So next thing I know, Johnny! I'm like, oh, crap. So I go in there and he goes, come in here, tell me what happened. So I told him what happened and he's like, all right, sit down, let's watch the game. The game was on, so I sat there and watched a few innings with him.
Well, at least you got a good memory,
Yeah.
I mean, as bad of an experience as that was, you got to sit and watch a game with Bobby.
It's a great story there told by former Braves catcher Johnny Estrada. It's one of Cox's many ejections, as he is the record holder for ejections in baseball history. But though Cox is remembered for his ejections, a lot of people would look at that as a negative. I choose to look at that as a guy that had his players' backs and wasn't afraid to let his voice be heard. As we move forward in this video, we're going to hear from more former players and more former coaches as they remember the life and legacy of Hall of Famer Bobby Cox.
Bobby, I mean, what can you say that haven't been said? Yeah. Bobby was just a fantastic manager. He cared about his players. He defended his players. If you had a problem and you went to Bobby, Bobby would sit down, listen, and do whatever he could to help you out. Great guy. I remember Bobby from AAA when he was coaching for the Yankees, and also in Venezuela. I played against one of his teams over in Venezuela, and he traded to get me, and I had just come off my best season ever. I was 11-6 and had 15 saves in Texas, and Bobby traded to get me, and I felt terrible that I had a really bad year. Actually, I think I was 5-4 and 3 saves, but that first win was Bobby Cox's first win as a major league manager. So I was in the right place at the right time.
Yeah. Did you ever see him get ejected?
Oh yeah. Who hadn't?
I was drafted as a catcher and I went to first base, and then Bobby moved me to the outfield, so I wouldn't have had a career without Bobby. I was just with John Smoltz, who said the same thing about Bobby. I mean, you could go on and on and on. Bobby was loyal, as loyal could be. Gave you every chance to make it. And interesting story. I used to see Bobby Dews, obviously during my career. He goes, Murph, would you quit saying Bobby Cox moved you to the outfield? I go, what do you mean, Doozy? He goes, that was my idea. I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, we were sitting there in the winter of 79-80, and you were, trying to play first base, and I said to Bobby, maybe we should move Murph to the outfield. So Bobby says, good idea. But absolutely, we're thinking about Bobby all the time. No question about that. Our connection to Bobby and the history of the Braves and Bill Lucas. So thank you for letting us mention that. But we're lucky. I think we're all fortunate to have our start with the Braves organization.
I remember being in a slump. I was like maybe like 0 for 20 or something like that. I don't remember going, but it was a slump, and I got jammed, hit like a weak line drive to the shortstop that didn't leave the infield, and I'm mad. I said a few choice words. I come back to the dugout, and he's like, "Just missed it, Johnny." And I didn't put my bat and my helmet up, and I'm just like, game is he watching? But that was Bobby, you know, and like being like that and, you know, kind of breaking the ice. You just want to play for a coach like that.
Awesome. He's awesome. I mean, I always say Bobby Cox has more patience than a grandma. You know, and grandma, you know, they're always patient with these kids, and he's unbelievable. You know, just when you think things weren't going to work out, they look at you and go, hey, we'll be fine. We'll be fine. And we would be fine, you know. But he knew the game. He was always ahead of the other manager. He just managed the game very well. He knew his personnel. He knew what they were capable of doing. And even when a guy was struggling, you're thinking, oh, man, when is he going to give somebody else an opportunity? He goes, no. The patience. He'll be fine. He'll be fine. He'll be fine. And he was able to do that. And with his patience, it helped the guys that were struggling become better and want to run through walls for him.
You know, everything was good with all the players. We got along good. We played like a family, and I think that's why we won so much. You have a manager coming in, and the general manager from Schultz coming in, and Bobby coming in and being from the general manager. But you know, he was the general manager when I got drafted. But Bobby was he was straightforward. There was no BS with Bobby. Let you know how it was, and that's I think why the players respected him. You know, obviously there were some issues with me early on about me wanting to play more, but other than that, we really had no issues. He expected you to go out there and play as hard as you could to win on an everyday basis, and the players respected that. If he had problems with you, he would call in his office and talk to you. You know, some of the newer managers over the last, I don't know, even around when I played, you know, some of the managers talked about their players, you know, about their performance in the papers or talked to the media. Bobby didn't do that. If he saw something going on, he let you know right away, and I think you got to respect that as a player.
Again, thank you for watching this video as we have remembered the life of Bobby Cox with his passing as well as the passing of Ted Turner this week. It is a great time to reflect on what both of these men meant not only to the Braves but to the city of Atlanta. They are both icons. They had a critical role in not only making the Braves what they are today, but even in some cases keeping them here in Atlanta. Without Ted Turner's influence, I don't know that would have happened. Both of these men will certainly be missed going forward, but they will also be remembered forever here in Braves country. Thank you guys for watching. I certainly do appreciate it. If you are a Braves fan, we would appreciate you liking the video and sharing this as we remember the lives of the guys that got us here, the guys that built the Braves organization, and Ted Turner and Bobby Cox. I don't know of two more men that could be credited more with doing just that. Again, thank you for watching. We certainly do appreciate it. Condolences to all of those that knew Bobby Cox, whether it be in baseball, whether it be personally, whether it be a member of his family. Just know that Braves fans remember him fondly and are appreciative of what he gave us. Many years of great baseball to watch, and felt like we knew him even if we didn't. That said, we appreciate you all watching, and go Braves.
Baseball fans, make sure you like and share this video and subscribe to this channel. As always, thank you for your support.